Hello, everybody. I am Bennett Tchaikovsky, the accounting professor here on YouTube, and welcome to a video that I've been meaning to do for quite some time. I have actually done these in the past, but I've been getting a lot of questions on them. And so our first one here is, what accounting courses should I take for the CPA exam to prepare for FAR, or financial accounting and reporting? My disclaimer and copyright notice: the information and opinions in this presentation are those of myself and not my employers or affiliated organizations, including but not limited to Irvine Valley College and the South Orange County Community College District. Presentation is for educational purposes only, does not constitute any legal or accounting advice whatsoever. Please note that the California Board of Accountancy makes the final determination as to whether or not a class meets the educational requirements. I'm also going to be previewing UWorld CPA review. UWorld CPA review, and I have not yet published the discount code. I plan on doing it soon, but I do have an arrangement with UWorld CPA review whereby if you use the discount code, they will be giving me free CPA review courses, which I will then give away as promotional items on my YouTube channel. I am not receiving any cash compensation from them whatsoever. And I also want to say this: because I have that agreement with UWorld does not mean you should be using UWorld. You need to go out and try before you buy. Look at Ninja, great CPA review course. I've had students that have used them in the past. Look at Becker. A lot of times people get Becker for free. There you go. Look at Gleim, Surgeon. It's whatever works best for you. It's not me. It's all about you. Okay. Now, when it comes to the CPA exam, we're going to focus today on FAR, financial accounting and reporting. You have to take this part. And for many students, the general advice I always hear from both those that have taken the exam as well as the CPA review course providers is you take FAR first. It's by far, well, no pun intended, one of the more difficult portions of the exam. So let's work backwards in terms of what we need to go through and do to prepare for FAR. Now, before we kind of look at this, when you're looking at your undergraduate accounting courses, or basically lower division accounting, you're generally going to have a financial accounting class. And in that financial accounting course, it should be going through and starting you with basically reporting transactions, preparing financial statements, and then ending up hopefully with the statement of cash flows, possibly financial statement analysis. That's where some of them will end up. The other lower division accounting class you'll be taking is managerial accounting. Right, a managerial accounting course. This can start with financial statement analysis, job order costing, process costing, variable versus absorption income statements, cash budgeting, a lot of different things. Very important class, especially for those entering into business, right? It may not show up on FAR, but it is one of those cornerstone classes. So now, when you're preparing though for FAR, right, the best way to go through and look at how to go through and prepare it, and again, this is UWorld. And if I come over here, so this is basically when you sign into UWorld, yours may look a little bit different. But when I sign into UWorld, I'm going to go ahead and launch FAR. The way that this is set up on UWorld CPA review is if you go into the lectures and you go through and look at they have it all in different sections. If you looked at Becker, they might only have 6, 7 modules, but they have a lot within them. This is kind of all laid out over here. Now, why am I going through and showing you this? Again, when it comes to, if you didn't learn something in one of your classes, you're going to learn it here. And that's why it's so important that you are choosing something that is right for you. And if I come over here and say, if I want to basically take a look at, well, what are the inventory costing methods? If I want to go ahead and look at this over here, And if I didn't learn something.
With that background, we're ready to tackle our first representative tab.
So UWorld will walk you through everything, right? But the whole thing is, though, is when you take CPA review, and I say this a lot, you do not want it to be CPA brand new. You want it to be CPA review. In California, you are not mandated to take specific accounting courses. But when you are going and through and choosing accounting courses for FAR, you want to take intermediate accounting 1 and 2. But when you take these classes, again, these are my own personal thoughts, right? So when I'm taking intermediate accounting, right? So again, when I'm taking intermediate accounting, what you have to remind yourself of is when I get to the CPA exam, how is the CPA exam set up on FAR? Well, 50% of the exams are going to be multiple choice questions. 50% of the exams are going to be task-based simulations. What is a multiple choice question? Well, let's go ahead and do one here, and you can watch me get one wrong, and we'll see how we do on this. Okay, big incurred legal fees, and depending its patent rights, these legal fees should be capitalized when the outcome of the litigation is, wow, wow, wow. Uh, I think it's going to be a successful or unsuccessful that you go through and patent it. But I think the problem with saying if it's unsuccessful, it may be questioning the actual validity of the patent. So it might be successful and maybe not be successful. But let's see the correct answer and see if I got this. Oh, I got it right. Wow, that's absolutely amazing. So if I was not successful, then I cannot basically capitalize the cost. I just have to go through and expense it. But if I'm an auditor, I'm looking at this, I may basically say that it's not right. Now, when you do this, when you basically happens over here, this is going to tell you what you got correct and why, right? It's more important that you know why you got the answer correct or incorrect. But again, that's what the multiple choice questions do. Now, here's the big one. These are task-based simulations, and this is something really important to kind of go through and talk about with you. When you are taking an intermediate accounting course, you want that course to be as difficult, challenging, and fair as possible. Why is that? Because the more time you put into intermediate accounting, the less time you're going to be putting it in for the CPA review. It'll feel like CPA review, not like CPA brand new. And when you look at these questions, oh, problem-based, I'm going to have to use it. I can use Excel to go through and solve them. But the reason why I'm mentioning this and spending a little bit more time on it, if you're attending a university that is only giving you, or any school that is only giving you multiple choice questions where you do not have to show work, that is a recipe for disaster, because when you get to the CPA exam, you're not going to have that stress that I try to provide, my academic stress that I'm trying to provide my students, because I have the same thing of preparing for problem-based questions. So if you take an intermediate accounting class, and again, ideally, the best kind of class to take is in person, because you're going to get that and you're going to be forced to sit there. You're going to basically get that one-on-one in the instructor. With the instructor, you're going to be able to ask questions in real time. Hopefully you're coming in fully prepared to class, but you're going to get the most out of that part. But when it comes to, well, that's one extreme. Many of us work full time. It's very difficult to go through and take an intermediate class in person. So what if I take it asynchronously, meaning that I'm just watching videos, there's no live lecture component? That's not good. And more than likely, if it's an asynchronous class, it's going to be all multiple choice questions. The other, the other way to do it, and I did this during the pandemic, is to do things on a hybrid model. What does that mean? It means that you are live lecturing, right, via Zoom. Students are coming in through and asking questions, you're solving problems, and then you're giving exams. But again, that is my opinion, right? But you want to, if you're taking an intermediate accounting class and your teachers are sitting there and reading slides, that is a disaster. You want to be going through and doing problems because life is not a multiple choice question. Life is a problem, but the more problem exposure you get to with intermediate accounting, the better you're going to be on it. And if we look at this, the different topics that are here, I'm going to work backwards. Subsequent events, usually intermediate two, lessee accounting, intermediate two, fair value measurements, intermediate two, accounting for income taxes, intermediate two, revenue recognitions that can be intermediate one, contingencies and commitments, intermediate two, accounting changes, equity, debt, payables, and liabilities. Those are all intermediate accounting two. Intangibles, investments, PP&E, inventory, trade receivables, cash and equivalents. Financial statement ratios, you'll probably see this more in managerial accounting in your lower division one. And then these parts over here with governmental non-for-profits, many colleges do not teach government accounting. So this is probably what you'd be learning FAR 2 and 3 essentially on your own. So that's why using the right CPA review course, whatever is best for you, is by far the most important. So again, when you're preparing for FAR, and this is, you're going to kind of see this, kind of all kind of come around over and over and over again. When we prepare for FAR, you want to take the first two, if you're at a quarter system, you want to take 3/4 of intermediate accounting if it's offered. Otherwise, you're going to try to take intermediate 1 and 2. Now, again, when you're taking these classes, if an instructor is just reading slides and not explaining it in depth, you've got to ask yourself the question is, can I go through and do that on my own? Why am I here? And I want you to challenge your instructors to kind of say, hey, look, blame me, why not? But if I look at this over here, right, oh, half of the exam is multiple choice questions. Half of the exam is task-based simulation. So are my professors doing me a favor by just giving me multiple choice questions? And that answer is no. And in fact, when I teach financial accounting, I always go through and make students solve problems. And they may really not like me for that, but that's how you're going to go through and learn accounting. I did have a conversation with the founder, Jeff Elliott, the founder of Ninja CPA Review. I'm going to link that below in this video. It is a great conversation, but one of the things he said that really resonated with me, and you kind of see this whole thing with AI, a lot of teachers are going back to requiring handwritten assignments. You want to handwrite out everything in accounting. There is a deeper level of learning when you are going through and handwriting out your solutions. So that's going to be the class you're going to kind of go through. Those are the classes you go through and take. I want to thank you for being with me here today. If you have any questions or feedback or the like, please feel free to either email me or leave a comment over here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Feel free to leave me a comment at ibc30cpa@gmail.com. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day.